My name is Kevin Connor. I'm the Government Affairs Chair for the North San Antonio Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to the 11th Annual State of the County Address featuring our County Judge, Nelson Wolff. As you enter the ballroom today, you may notice some facts about the North San Antonio Chamber rolling up on the screens with the hashtag Did You Know? And this is part of our ongoing effort to educate our members and our community about this chamber's unique role in San Antonio. The North San Antonio Chamber has 5 pillars for its mission statement: advocacy, networking, recognition, leadership, and professional development. And there's a reason advocacy is listed first. It's because we know that it is something that affects each and every business in San Antonio. We're an advocate for good public policy at the state and the local level, and we not only take your personal and professional needs to our elected officials, but we engage community leaders like Judge Wolff to keep you educated on how to plan for the future for you and your family. Thank you for being part of that mission today.
It's truly an honor to be able to introduce our keynote speaker today, because he's a living legend and a true San Antonio treasure. Nelson Wolff was appointed county judge in 2001 and has since been reelected to that position 4 times. In his time on Commissioner's Court, Judge Wolff has helped raise the profile of Bexar County locally, nationally, and internationally. Judge Wolff has been the driving force behind many of the greatest and some of the coolest projects in our time in recent memory here in San Antonio and Bexar County. And to name a few of those, the $415 million Community Venues Program that funded construction of 13 amateur sports parks, a world-class performing arts center, renovations to the AT&T Center, and other projects. Judge Wolff's time on Commissioner's Court has also led to a wide variety of economic development wins for Bexar County and San Antonio. To name a few, GM Financial Services, Toyota and their multiple on-site suppliers, Medtronic, and a new policy and incentive fund directed at attracting more technology firms. He has served Bexar County most of his adult life, and as a state representative, a state senator, a city councilman, mayor, and as a businessman. Please welcome to the stage Judge Nelson Wolff.
Well, thank you very much, and let me first thank the North Chamber for the great work that they do in economic development. We're really on a great roll. Particularly want to thank Dwayne Wilson. He's been your leader for 22 years. I've been in office 15 years. We're trying to see who can outlast the other. He's done a great job. Just to give you a little update, population in San Antonio in a metropolitan standard area grew by 37,479 people from July 14th to July 15th. But more important than that, in that same period of time, we added 35,000 jobs to our area, and unemployment down to about 3.7%, the 5th lowest metro area with populations of 1 million or more. But last year when I talked to you, I told you there was one sector of the economy that I was concerned about and that we needed to do more work on, and that was the tech industry. A year ago, I told you that Uber and Lyft had left San Antonio while Austin embraced them. I told you that Austin had Google Fiber and we didn't, and that we had to do a little bit better job of working in our tech industry, but we had built some good building blocks that were certainly in the right way. It was tech block, geekdom, cybersecurity, talent development, incentives for the tech industry. And now, a year later, we've got a little bit better picture. Uber and Lyft have left Austin and have come to San Antonio, and now we have Google Fiber. Thank you, Mayor Taylor, for what you've done there. We had a great report come out. Sean Williams, chairman of SA Techosystem, last week released a study on the tech industry in San Antonio. We've grown from 15,000 jobs in 2008 to 34,000 jobs in 2016. That's doubling. A total economic impact of some $10 billion. And the average wage in that sector is $78,000 compared to $45,000 across the economy. We'll continue to grow the industry through tech firms, embedded tech departments in various companies, and the large military presence. For example, cybersecurity, the 24th Air Force at Port San Antonio has over 1,000 people working there. And last year, 4 private cybersecurity firms located out there. I want to encourage the Port Authority to move forward with a state-of-the-art facility that will provide home for more private sector companies to come and locate next to the 24th Air Force. I want to thank Ricardo Romo for the great program that they put in cybersecurity at UTSA. It is really building an industry for us, Ricardo. Thank you very, very much. We're doing our part at Bexar County to try to raise the level of the tech industry. It was mentioned earlier, we opened Bibliotech, the nation's first all-digital public library, and we'll be opening our 3rd branch in February of next year. And just this Tuesday, the Commissioner's Court approved agreement with Alamo Colleges to teach Network Plus certification in our Bibliotech, which is a pathway to Rackspace Cloud Academy. So we're going to really putting in the effort to bring technology to the areas of the county that really need it. I want to thank my wife, Tracy, for raising over $1 million for Bibliotech, and to Laura Cole for doing a great job. Bexar County did another little interesting deal, creating a tech innovation fund of some $1 million to focus on recruitment, retention, and expansion, talent development, and brand building. We're going to have an exciting event on June the 16th. We put up $50,000 in a competition in which 42 companies entered, and Tech Block will be announcing on June the 16th at a big rally who will win those awards. I encourage you to go if you really want to uplift of what young people in this community are doing, young professionals. Go to one of these Tech Block meetings and you'll see where San Antonio is going. We're doing a great job on working on talent development. Mayor Taylor and I started that January a year ago, and that led to SA Works. Peter John Holt and Kate Rogers are leading that effort. It's an industry effort focused on getting education to teach to the job, not to the test. We're providing industry certificates in all the high schools. We're partnering with the Alamo College to offer college credits. High schoolers have the opportunity to simultaneously earn an associate degree. And we're going to ask you to do something. This summer, in all your companies, if you could just open up some intern positions for high school students. Mayor Taylor and I had a meeting of about 60 different companies, a lot of pledges to do that. Let's teach high school students what it's like to be on the job, give them a little taste of a job, and I think that's going to help them in their education. I want to thank Commissioner Tommy Calvert for the work that he has been doing in this area. Now, we also need to retain talent, develop it, retain it. We don't want them to leave. So they need a place to live and work that they would enjoy in. And I think we're doing a good job of that in the downtown area with culture, restaurants, paths, sidewalks, public transit, hundreds of more housing units underway already. I think we got 5,000 relatively new ones there. We have a new skyscraper going in. The Frostbank Tower, let me tell you, that building would be like no other building here in San Antonio. You're going to love it. Randy Smith is with us today, who's doing the great work on that. We've had about 3 or 4 announcements for condominiums and hotels downtown. Hemisphere Park is under development today and moving fast forward. And the Pearl on the north part of downtown and Southtown on the south, 2 barbells are continuing to grow very, very fast. Now, that's great and good, but we need more urban hubs around the community. I think we can say that La Cantera certainly has the basis of an urban hub where people live, work, and play. Over by the Rim area, the Quarry area in Alamo Heights, it has something very similar to that. And then a developer came along, which I hope we will all embrace, and I hope what he says will work. That's out at IH-10 and UTSA Boulevard. It has 114 acres there, 5 times the size of Pearl, but they see that as a Pearl development, a very large Pearl. We're walking paths between different elements of a multi-use development. If we will do more of that, that will help more than anything else to cut down on the traffic jams that we have in our community today and give people a choice of life of how they want to live. Now, we are working on the transportation. As you know, the funds are always tight in that, and we want to see these urban hubs grow, and we want to make sure we've got good connections in between them. Since Bexar County assumed the staffing responsibilities for the Alamo Regional Mobility Authority, in which the commissioners appoint the members, they just recently approved $179 million in funding for 13 non-toll transportation projects. I want to thank our head of our Public Works Department, Renee Green, and County Manager David Smith for putting that plan together and for the board adopting it. So that's a major step forward. In the past 4 years, in total, for all the things that Bexar County puts forward for major highway projects, we put forward some $527 million for 21 regionally significant major mobility projects to keep our community moving. Now, next Thursday, 9 o'clock, any of you can be in Austin, an important meeting. They're going to do the final vote on 281, which would build it out from 1604 to Stone Oak Boulevard. Would also provide about another $83 million for right-of-way going out to the county line. They're going to vote on IH-10, which will take us from 1604 out to Fair Oak Boulevard. And at Fair Oaks Boulevard and at Stone Oak, a parking garage will be built by VIA to give mobility with higher occupancy lanes in the middle. It's an important meeting. Everything will go well, I think. I want to thank Bruce Bugg for the tremendous job that he is doing there. And if everything goes right, which I think it will, IH-10 construction will start in spring of 2017, and that'll be, the 281 will go to bid in February of 2017 and start also in spring 2017. So 2 major arteries could very well be under construction by next year. One other major one is on 1604 from Calabria over to Highway 90. That should go out to early fall, go out to construction in early fall. So from IH-10 east all the way across 1604 to Highway 90, we'll have 4 lanes all the way across non-toll. I want to thank Commissioner Kevin Wolff for the great work that he has done in putting these plans together and advocating for them. Professional soccer, the fastest growing sport for millennials and a perfect fit for San Antonio. Commissioners Court authorized a study in 2011 and concluded that San Antonio is ready for Major League Soccer. Thanks to Gordon Hartman, we have an expandable stadium located right off the Wurzbach Parkway on IH-35. Mayor Taylor and I worked together and created a city-county partnership where we bought the stadium and leased it to the Spurs. With the Spurs Sports and Entertainment as owners of San Antonio, a new USL franchise, we have partnered now to pursue the MLS franchise. MLS has already announced they'll be expanding to 4 markets starting in 2020, and San Antonio is under consideration. We'll be in competition. We believe Sacramento is a kind of a lay-down hand to getting it. We think St. Louis will be very strong. We think we'll have to be competing with San Diego and Detroit and possibly Austin and other cities, but we're coming about doing that. The Spurs are working on what the plans would be like for an expandable stadium. They've made contact with MLS. We're keeping up with MLS. So we're going to be working hard on that. We will have to go to voters to get approval to expand the stadium and the funding that will be necessary to do that. We got a big birthday party coming. Wow. Mayor Taylor and I appointed a 5-member commission that will celebrate our 300th anniversary in May of 2018. And leading up to that 300th anniversary, we're already doing a number of things. We created the Nuestra Historia in a county building right behind the courthouse. If you get a chance, you may want to go see that. You'll see a letter dating back over 300 years, Spanish official saying that they ought to create a settlement here in San Antonio. We've also had some research symposium, making sure we got our history right as we move forward to celebrate that great history. Now, most of you probably know our community was not founded on the banks of the river, but actually on San Pedro Creek. Along San Pedro Creek, we had the first mission de Valero there, and we had the first Spanish presidio along the creek. Now, we're going to put a lot of money into San Pedro Creek, some $125 million that the county is putting in to turn that from a drainage ditch into a creek with a culture park on its banks. Now, it's going to be unlike the Riverwalk. Don't think Riverwalk. Think something different. You're going to see some walls along there that's going to tell about the history and the culture of San Antonio and Renton Farm. You're going to see art that will exemplify that history and that culture. You're going to see a little color. Color's good. We want it to be a vibrant place. We want it to be different than the Riverwalk. We want people to come there. Randy's building is going to go right on the creek. We also have another joint venture with the city. We're going out for proposals right now on about 7 or 8 acres of land that's right on the creek to do a multi-use development. And so people are now looking at that as a possible development right along that site. Just this past Tuesday, this week, we approved the construction management contract. That's underway. We hope to be able to break some ground by the end of summer. And I want to thank Commissioner Paul Elizondo. He's the one that's a driving force behind this and put it together. Thank you, Paul. We're doing some things to strengthen law enforcement. We're going to build a sheriff substation on Rocket Lane on the east side of town and one on Canyon Road on the west side of town. We'll be opening both of those, we'll be under construction in both of them by late summer. Commissioner Rodriguez did a great deal in creating a new trading academy that's going to be in one of the older schools on Gillette. We're remodeling that now, and we hope to be up and going within about 4 months. We're also going to be out on IH-10, 1604 area to open a sheriff's fire and sheriff's station, a communication center, along with the Regional Emergency Operations Center owned by BareMet 911 in July. We hope to do that in July. Just this week, we opened the reentry center near the jail where formerly incarcerated inmates will receive service to help them transition back into the community. Absolutely a project that needed to be done, and it's going to make a big change in a lot of people's lives. I want to thank District Attorney Nicola Hood and Judge Sakai and my wife Tracy for working with the Children's Court to change the dynamics of CPS, Child Protective Services, to trying to hold families together, nourish those families, try to keep them together rather than tearing them apart and throwing them into a dysfunctional foster care system. We've already had great success in the first year where more and more families have been held together and less taken away from families. We really made some great headway with respect to culture in our community, and I think that's so very important. The Confluence Park, we just had groundbreaking on it just last week. It's going to be right there on the San Antonio River, just south of town on Mitchell Road. It'll be an outdoor classroom for environmental stewardship, and it'll be right on the mission reach of the river. Hot Wells Resort, which is also right on the river going south. We should be getting the bids back to that, and something ought to be coming back to the Commissioner's Court to accept those bids and to move forward on the Hot Wells Resort that dates back to the turn of the century. I want to thank Chico Rodriguez, Commissioner Rodriguez, for the great leadership that he's done on these two projects, but also on the whole mission reach of the river. We would not have a World Heritage designation, the only one in the state of Texas, had we not put the money into the river going south. and Commissioner Rodriguez was a great leader in that. The Botanical Gardens, if you haven't been there, Tracy and I were there the other night. They bought 8 acres of land. They're going to landscape that and plant vegetables and have outdoor cooking and show kids what it's like to do that. It's going to be a wonderful addition. And the Whitty, as you drive down Broadway, you see it under construction, $100 million put into the Whitty Museum, Mayan exhibit that's there today. And so VIA is going to step forward, and they will soon launch a connection, a culture corridor that will connect the cultural institutions along the Broadway area, from the McNay to the Whitty to the Botanical Gardens to the Zoo to the Duseum to the Pearl, down to Blue Star and Southtown and Briscoe Western Art Museum downtown and the Performing Arts Center. A significant investment in the culture of our community. Now, you read the other day, 1,500 musicians left Austin. They need a home. They need a home. Film industry, we haven't really done a lot in that. Commissioner Calvert said, well, go over and look at this 100,000 square foot building on the east side of town, and I did. A young man by the name of Kerry Valderrama put in place for 10 different film-related companies that are there, finished out the space on the second floor, a little sound studio downstairs. I went out with Diego Bernal, Representative Diego Bernal. He's here to see some folks connected with music. And it's called SA Sound Garden. Edwin Stevens was working on that project. So we put the two of them together. And we could take that building, and Mayor, we need to go look at it together. It could take that building and really take music and film to another level. It'd be kind of like a geekdom for tech, where they can go in there and share space, where they're able to work on technology resources, production talent, networking, audio engineering, producers. It's a much larger industry than you think here in San Antonio. So if we can figure out some way to help them and get that going, that could lead to a major, major impact in our music and our film industry. Let me close with a cultural aspect that I think is extremely important to San Antonio. And we always have our struggles, making sure that we're trying to do everything we can to support them. The county put some $100 million with voter approval into the Tobin Center for the Performing Arts. And I have to keep reminding people that we did that to support local performing arts group. The center is doing great. It ranked #1 in the world for theaters with 2,000 seats or less based on performances in the attendance, #1 in the world. But it was built to make sure that our performing arts will thrive here in San Antonio. So we need to step up. We need to step up and support them, and in particular to support the San Antonio Symphony. If we don't do that and we lose these performing art groups, then the main purpose of the Tobin would be lost. And great American cities, I believe, are committed to classical music. Our historical and cultural roots here in San Antonio are tied to it in a very dramatic way. We can go all the way back to 1887, when German immigrant Carl Becker created the first 40-piece orchestra. By 1939, we had a major orchestra that was one of only 19 in the country. And we got nationwide attention by hosting several world premieres by important composers and making major recordings. Today, we have another great orchestra, perhaps better than ever, led by Sebastian Lang Lessing, who is recognized across the world as one of the best conductors and music directors in the world. The orchestra is playing great music today, and every school orchestra, band, string quartet depends on help and inspiration from members of the orchestra. And if you haven't been to any performances, I encourage you to go. I must say, Tracy and I are more toward pop concerts than we are classical music, the pure classical music. But you'll find that to be so much enjoyment. So I'm going to encourage you to really go. Now, there's one other thing you need to remember about symphonic music. Some people would tell you, oh, that's the music of the past, don't pay any attention of it. They're so wrong. It has played a major role in developing all forms of music. In fact, the most famous band ever, the Beatles, can trace its success to George Martin. He had produced some symphonic music and used his classical expertise to create 22 singles and 13 albums for the Beatles, a body of work that revolutionized popular music. And that will continue to go across. Now, we all know it's expensive to do that. We know that because it's 72 members, 72 people that are on that stage. But if you got to know them, you will find they're some of the most talented individuals in our community. And they do an absolutely great job. We have one of the lower cost of symphonies. We only pay them a little over $30,000. That's not a lot of money for talented people like they have. And again, Laura Jessie, where's Laura Jessie? She's here somewhere. Laura Jessie helped me write this speech. If you don't like it, find her and tell her. If you like it, let me know. Thank you.